like Kha'Zix, you expect to have a little bit more in the early game when it comes to damage, Olaf a little bit more in the later game?
Yeah, definitely. Olaf has very good late game presence, and we see the same thing coming through from Wygers. You know, it doesn't work. ZeroZone knows it. They're expecting it. They're not gonna fall for this. And a thing that I want to talk about, by the way, is Morgana. Morgana's ultimate, which deals damage equal to your max HP, which is such a good ultimate in the late game to deal with Wygers, because not only is it gonna shred through the tanks, the next thing that it does, which might be like a little secret tip, is it can reveal Kha'Zix. If you use your ult on Kha'Zix, your chain is going to be on him, and if he becomes invisible, you can still see where he is. So your chain will basically reveal where the Kha'Zix is, and it's just such a good pick for ZeroZone to pick that Morgana in this draft.
That's a really interesting point that I know, like, it's the same when you play Kai'Sa into Akali or any like invisibility champion and they get confused why they're revealed. I love those little interactions that do that. But nevertheless, this early game, we're seeing Garen run down Darius, and we need to keep in mind this is a first pick Garen as well. So, oh, that's first blood going over to ZeroZone. That's a bit of a disaster. Looks like it was double crowd control into Ignite.
Yeah, double crowd control to Ignite. The Thresh just destroyed Galio, and Pantheon mid lane, by the way, is really good into the Zed. I really like that draft. But let's take a look at the replay. What actually happened? They just got a catch, right? This is what their composition can do. Thresh hooked him, and then our nation used his root. Easy peasy kill. That's the early game thing that they can do, and they skill very well into the late game as well. But the early game is super dangerous with that catching out potential, because they were able to kill the support like that. Imagine what they can do with Zero on that Corki.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, imagine how much damage can come out. They now secure bot lane crab. Kha'Zix has secured topside crab for himself, so it at least is a trade there. We don't have that exchange over the crabs in this game, but I mean, that's one of the things that I think, as we have more games to cast and we look at, I really want to look at how teams evolve around that level 2, because this happens all the time in solo queue. One side gets level 2 before the other in bot lane gets a kill, and it just snowballs the game so heavily, whereas like when you're paying attention to it, it shouldn't really happen. I know that sounds really harsh, but like you've got to watch for those level markers.
Yeah, definitely. Like they, as you said, they reached level 2 before. They had that full engage. Galio was still stuck on that level, and he really couldn't do anything. He couldn't use his second ability to survive. And I also want to talk about the composition of Wygers, because even though Corki deals 80% magic damage, it's pretty much a full attack damage composition, and they're up against a Garen stress.
Yeah, they're up against somebody who's like, okay, I can build a lot of armor, I can get some tankiness and deal a decent amount of damage as well. There's quite a lot of like execute potential as well on the side of ZeroZone. If you look at like the Garen ultimate, you've got Zed ultimate, like even Morgana, if I'm not mistaken, her pool, does it still do missing % health damage?
Yes.
The way that it does on PC?
Yeah.
Which, again, when you've got low health targets, this composition is like, I'm just going to pick off everybody that's low health.
Yeah, definitely. And interestingly, Garen is going for a Black Cleaver. I personally would have loved to actually see some sort of a full armor composition. I mean, okay, that would probably not be the best thing, but that would be really fun to watch at least. Because how the hell would Wygers kill a Garen with full armor? Only the Corki would really be able to do that.
Yeah, like, quick, go back to draft Ramos, like, start again. Like, nevertheless, so yeah, we're reaching that really important point now, about 3 minutes 30, where our laners are going to start considering a recall for that first neutral objective fights. Big level points. Darius has his ultimate. He's already past level 5 up to level 6 now. Same with the Garen, same with the Olaf, same with the Zed. So, like, big team fight tools are available. And one I think we have to keep our eyes on is this Pantheon ultimate, because he'll cross the map very quickly. But look at how low health targets they are for now. In that top side, Darius was able to stay alive with the barrier for a little while longer, as Garen didn't throw out the ultimate either. And that was a top lane exchange that went in favor of ZeroZone for a moment. And we are back into the game for Rift Herald spawn. Ooh, we might get a fight over Rift Herald here. Look at how everyone's tracking on the minimap.
Yeah, ZeroZone is going to take that fight. Like, you can tell. You know, they're not like Wygers. They're aggressive. This is an aggressive team. They see that they can win this fight. They're not even going to give them the Rift Herald, right? Like, you could argue that they could have just taken the dragon and be like, fine, let's take the dragon and go back. Here you can see, this is what you're supposed to do with a composition that can win. This is what Wygers should have done in the first game, and there they are. Like, they're taking this fight, and they should have an advantage.
Yeah, here comes the Pantheon ultimate as he makes his entrance into the fight. There's a low health target on the side for Zed to pick off Corki. That's one of those carries early taken out already. Rift Herald down to 1100 health. It will be taken and stolen by Kha'Zix, but how will the fight go as the double executes just all around the place for ZeroZone? They pick up that Pantheon, they take 3 kills, losing one of their own, but they didn't get the Rift Herald. It was stolen by Wygers.
Yeah, Fountain did a great job focusing out that Rift Herald fight. You know, during the havoc of that team fight that it was, sure, they lost 3 members, but they were actually able to secure that Rift Herald, which is an incredibly important objective, which might set them up for this Dragon as well. And now it's a very bad position for ZeroZone to be in, because Wygers has that Corki package, Zero picked it up, Kha'Zix has that Rift Herald, which he can drop if he wants to. Now they can go for the Dragon as well.
Yeah, they're going to start that up as it looks like ZeroZone are just going to head towards the top side. They're going to try and get McKelly. As yeah, that's an easy pick off. Rift Herald's going to get dropped down. They can. It looks like they have already secured the Dragon as we were in the replay, and it's easy take. So Dragon went over to Wygers. Rift Herald went over to Wygers. A kill in the top lane went over to ZeroZone, and they're working on that tower on the top side as well. Won't be first tower of the game though. We already just saw that one drop in mid lane.
And interestingly, Patterson leaves the tower. He doesn't secure it. Might have been because he was scared, because he doesn't have any vision on the red side jungle, but I would have argued that he should have taken that turret. It's a Garen, he can just escape. I want to mention though, Wygers is playing much better this game. Their macro game is much better, and even though they're still 2,000 gold behind, they're playing this game much better than the first game. They're rotating much better, they're playing more as a team, but ZeroZone, just absolute excellent team. They dropped the Dragon, as we talked about. They cannot take that fight on the Dragon because Corki had a package and Kha'Zix had a Rift Herald. They cannot take the fight, and they didn't. Simple as that. What did they do? They went to the top lane, they killed Extreme, and now they're pushing the top lane turret.
And I feel like that's something that ZeroZone have to be really careful around, is the ability for Wygers, though, to join in those fights. Like, last game, they had the Galio, and it was like, okay, one person can come into the fight with a global. Now you got 2. You got the Pantheon ultimate, you got the Galio ultimate. It's like, okay, we're in a 1v1. Oh no, now it's a 1 versus 3. So I think ZeroZone, in those times where they're like trying to push turrets, that's the area to be careful around. And as long as they play carefully around that, it should be, you know, the way that ZeroZone have been playing out, you feel like it should still be in their control, right?
Yeah, it should still be in their control, especially because they have that Garen and the Olaf, right? These are champions that can escape from these types of engages, right? Like a Pantheon goes in, Garen just uses his defensive second ability, Olaf uses his ultimate, and they can just very easily escape. So that is the power of the ZeroZone composition, and it's really denying the power of the Wygers composition, because as you said, the Pantheon, sure, he can move on to many lanes. There's not that many targets that he can kill, because even the Zed, he cannot just kill. Because Zed might just counter kill you with that ultimate, with the death mark, right?
Well, Kha'Zix is here, Corki roaming up. Galio is in the back of the lane as well. And exactly this, ZeroZone are like, okay, there's an opportunity here for us to get caught in topside. Let's play safe around it. Reset. Let's maybe look at a bot side play instead. And you're just kind of pulling that Wygers composition around the map. And this is, you know, pretty well composed is the way I'd put it. Like, ZeroZone aren't rushing into their engages. They're picking very smart engages and then avoiding them all other times.
Yeah, definitely. And they don't have to, really, because if that Morgana gets to the late game, Garen, Olaf, you know, they're quite a solid late game composition. But you could argue that Wygers also has quite a solid late game composition. The only problem is, though, Galio is quite behind. He doesn't have that much gold. Garen actually killing off the Pantheon in the bot lane, by the way, pushing the turret as well. Next Rift Herald is spawning. This is massive pressure on Wygers right now.
Yeah, looks like he killed him under the tower as well. So this is now the gambit from Wygers. Do they pick the engage around the Rift Herald and hope that they take it? Or do they kind of deal with the Garen? With a member missing, it's going to have to be Pantheon's choice when he comes back up. Garen's going to reset and look to get back out on the map for Rift Herald. Now, Pantheon will join quicker, but they haven't seen that Garen's recalled. And that is this moment where you have to pick and choose.
Yeah, and honestly, this is, again, a really hard team fight to take for ZeroZone. It's going to be really hard for them to engage, and it's just better for them to drop it. Because as you can see, the Corki package. And as you can see, they drop it and there's a fight.
Yeah, this fight shouldn't really happen now. The objective is gone, but that's massive damage coming down from Patterson to start this fight off. And Pantheon, however, has taken out Thresh's friend, is already down to respawn. And this is the problem, is you cannot afford to take a fight when the objective is gone against the team. The team fights better than you, but a killing spree for Patterson, and it is all on this first pick, Garen.
Yeah, that was not the fight that ZeroZone should have taken. It still went surprisingly well for them. They only dropped, two of them only dropped. Of course, they did not get that Rift Herald, and now we can see another Dragon for Wygers. This should have indeed happened, but what should not have happened was that team fight. Because if the team fight didn't happen, and if you take a look at it again, the Corki package is just laying there, and as you can see, it completely zoned out Patterson, R Nation, and Fran on the players of Zero Nation. So they just shouldn't have taken this fight, Stress.
Yeah, and the follow-up was maybe just a little too deep. I think at this point, you're like, okay, Wygers, back yourself away. They're trying to get the kill on the Garen, and it's so close. It's like the tiniest of margins between that and the kill. That Dragon did go over to Wygers as we entered the replay. They did secure it, and a turret goes over in favor of ZeroZone in the top lane. So despite the fact that Wygers have had like a lot of the presence on neutral objectives, 2 Dragons, 2 Rift Heralds, the gold lead's still in favor of ZeroZone from these exchanges, from these fights, and just the amount of gold. Like Garen is the one that is holding all of the lead right now with nearly 2,000 gold up on this Darius.
Yeah, he's holding up all the lead. Yeah,
fight him as they are closing in, but that won't be enough for a kill.
Yeah, you can't really fight a Darius like that, even though you're super ahead, because Darius wins against Garen in the longer run. Of course, Garen wins in the shorter one. So even though he's super ahead, even though Patterson is super ahead on that Garen, he knows that he shouldn't take that fight with the Garen, because there's really no reason to.
Yeah, you can see he's even trying to itemize a little bit towards the AD that you're talking about. He's got that Ramble Vest, pretty standard anyway, but will be cutting through the healing, at least, of Darius, and has a lot of armor alongside it. That's an engage onto our Nation, who's forced to stasis with the ultimate running though, and there is that Morgana ultimate. Zone control just blocks 3 members of Wygers from getting into it. Darius didn't get the execute off the ultimate, so that execution doesn't reset. He ends up dropping from it as well, and now they're chasing down Zero. Now they're chasing down the Corki. Galio is going to enter the fight, but look, there's no health. Here comes Pantheon as well. Everybody coming in from the sidelines is tagging in, and out of this one, Zed does manage to convert the kill onto Corki, and now it's round forced to get spun on by Garen, and Michele is gonna drop as well. It's all ZeroZone. Just throw everything in the kitchen sink at them from Wygers, but they weren't enough to take the fight.
Yeah, and the whole squad from Wygers was there, but unfortunately the ones to actually celebrate the party was ZeroZone right there. As we look into the replay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful play by our Nation. He used his ultimate, chained up the enemies, used the stasis enchant so he became invulnerable, and the stun still goes through, even though you're in stasis enchant, and then it's just a cleanup. They killed the important Kha'Zix and the Darius very, very quickly, and again, like, that stasis saved the fight for them again. Our Nation coming in clutch with the stasis enchants again, and I really want Stuart to listen, put that stasis as a key point, because that is what's winning them the game right there. Our Nation just being the absolute MVP right there, you know? Like, it really all started right there. It all started right there, because Wygers nearly had that edge on the fight. As you can see, a lot of members from ZeroZone were very low, but it's really all because of that stasis play right there from our Nation that they won the fight again.
Yeah, it turned into like one of those martial arts movies where the bad guys come in one at a time, and it's just like 1 against 1. No, going as 5. You have this composition that team fights Wygers, and unfortunately, I feel like that's really reminiscent of that game 1 fight where they're like, we've got to pick, and then it goes badly because they don't actually take out our Nation. Like 2 games in a row, our Nation's stasis, as you've already mentioned, is really breaking Wygers' ability to team fight, and that's got to be frustrating. A 3rd item completed as Morgana does pick up the Rylai's. So now you add some extra tankiness, you add some extra slows onto the damage. Wygers really need to find an individual pick. ZeroZone just are not giving them the opportunity.
Yeah, they're indeed not giving them the opportunity, and especially with this build, with the 3 items as you mentioned on our Nation, it's going to be incredibly hard for Wygers to deal with. And right now, even if Corki gets a package, ZeroZone can just take this fight. They can very easily take this team fight, and of course they're going to do that.
Oh, Dark Binding is going to land. Graves, Garen, I should say, dodges out the taunt. Doesn't quite get the kill off the ult, but it's enough to take the kill as Thresh was, well, Galio was running back out of this one. They're going to flay back on to Extreme, and here comes Pantheon, but is it going to be enough to turn this one around? There's some damage, but it's surely not enough, as here comes Morgana with the chains landing, walking the dogs all the way back to the base, as that is another clean ace in favor of ZeroZone.
Yeah, very, very clean ace. They didn't even have to waste most of their summoner spells. This was just a very easy ace. And right now it's looking like the game is just over. Because ZeroZone has an incredibly powerful late game composition. And if we look into that replay as well, there's just really nothing that Wygers could have done. You know, they tried to go in with the full engage, but the Morgana ultimate and the Olaf ultimate is just way too strong. They can just absolutely run down Wygers, which they did. Zed finishing off the backline as well. Like, ZeroZone is just playing this super well, Stress.
Really well, and we heard from Elka, the coach of Team Queso, before this game, thinking that it should have been a closer game. And you know what? This one actually did start closer. Like, it's 17 kills to 4 now, but it actually felt like those first few fights and objectives, Wygers were competing with ZeroZone, but now this game is just a complete runaway. 4,000 gold lead nearly in the top lane on the Baron lane, 3,000 from mid lane, 2,000 from Dragon lane carries as well, even 1,500 gold lead on the supports at this point. That's how far ahead ZeroZone are, and with this Baron buff, they're going to be able to deny a lot of the ability for Wygers to depush. But it's 3 versus 5 in the middle lane as Pantheon is going to find the way on to our nation. Stasis once again is going to ruin Pantheon's day and get our nation out of this one. That's the kill onto Darius. No more teamfight resets on this game as ZeroZone are just cleaning everything off the Rift here. It's only Fowlin and Zero that survive, and with the Baron minions going to come through from ZeroZone, this surely has to be it.
Wow, unbelievable. I say it again, but our nation, what are you doing? Have some mercy on Wygers. The stasis enchant plus the ultimate again. Wygers can just not do anything against it. Yet again, they just can't. They cannot do anything against the stress.
Yeah, this is insane when you look at, like, so much of the team fight is around that initial few seconds and getting a pick, and Stasis just shuts it down completely. 2 lanes of super minions are going to be pushing in now as the rest of the Baron buff comes through. Patterson going to go under the Nexus, but that Nexus does bite, and the low health bars would be enough for Wygers to pick off and turn back around, but legendary goes Patterson as Fowlin runs afoul of this Garen. ZeroZone come back away, set up for this Dragon, and look to take the game.
Oh god, man, this is just an absolute abomination. So the early game, Wygers did a really good job, and I want to give them massive credits for that. You know, they did a great job playing this game, but late game we can just see the team that's better, which is obviously ZeroZone right here. You know, the macro games, they've constantly been pushing out lanes. They know how to fight. They know how to execute their composition. They buy the right items, right enchantments, everything. It just stacks on top of each other, which allows ZeroZone to just seemingly very easily win this game, Stress.
Yeah, it seems like it. Hells, do you wanna see if I can curse in action here? Because I'm about to say I think Patterson and our nation are gonna end this series with 0 deaths between them.
Oh wow.
So we'll see how much power we have on day 1 of this broadcast, because that would be an impressive feat across 2 games of WilRift to go unkilled. But nevertheless, I mean, Dragon's already gone down. I don't even think we're going to see Elder Dragon at this point, but if we do, it will be a cloud. I think ZeroZone, if they just find 1 catch on this bot lane while the top supers are pushing in, it's going to be really, really hard for Wygers to actually take the fight. And that's what ZeroZone are doing. They're like, okay, bot lane, it's the only place we can be. Let's set up vision in jungle, push on that tower.
Yeah, and really the only way for Wygers to win the fight right now would be the Darius. And we can see he's 0-4. And the problem is the Morgana stasis just doesn't allow the Darius to use his ultimate. He cannot use it on the Morgana. And then the only ones left are either super tanky targets or the Zed. And Zed is also quite an annoying target to follow. So it's just not the composition to play with Darius. It's really hard to get that ultimate reset.
Yeah, oh, there's a Dark Binding onto Galio. It's going to be enough to at least force some tools to be used as Galio and Pantheon. It's one last roll of the dice here. And they're trying to get this team fight to work, but Darius has already fallen, and the rest of ZeroZone are going to fall in line as well. Wygers are going to get taken out of this one. All 5 members still alive on ZeroZone. They're going to say, screw the Baron. We take the series 2-0. And that is a very impressive performance from ZeroZone.
Very, very impressive. Like, really, really impressive. Not just impressive, very impressive. Look at the Garen, by the way.
How many tower shots is he going to take?
He's
That's
just chilling.
Insane. ZeroZone close out our first series of the WilRift Emea Championships